everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to be looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman action figure. This is Batman from Batman the Animated Series, or possibly the new Batman Adventures. His paint scheme kind of looks like Batman the Animated Series, but his body type kind of looks like the new Batman Adventures. Sort of a cross between the two, and I kind of like it. I have all the DC Direct and DC Collectibles Batman Animated Series figures, so I'm happy this one's a little bit different. This guy here appears to be 7-inch scale, whereas the DC Collectibles versions were about 6-inch, so almost a full inch shorter. This here is what I wish DC Collectibles had done with their animated series figures, so they'd fit in better with my collection. So this is the first series of McFarlane DC figures. I'm actually really excited to compare them with some of my other figures, see how they stack up with the previous Mattel releases, as well as the DC Direct and DC Collectibles animated figures. For a long time, Todd McFarlane has been saying he really wanted to do action figures from any of the big three, being Marvel, DC, or Star Wars. He seems very passionate about this, so I'm happy he got the line. Presumably McFarlane outbidded Mattel to DC or Warner Brothers. So let's go check out the packaging here. DC Multiverse. Got Batman from the animated series here. Large, broad chest. Got some alternate hands. Got a batarang. Got a grapple hook. Looks like a stand back there, as well as a card. The top here, 22 moving parts. You can see McFarlane Toys with the Spawn logo. Ages 12 plus. Side here, Batman the Animated Series. On the other side here, simply says Batman. On the bottom here, we've got a barcode in case anyone needs it, as well as a bunch of credits. And on the back side here, Batman from the animated series, as well as a bunch of other figures from the first McFarlane assortment. We've got Nightwing. He does come with a build-a-figure piece, so he costs $25 instead of the $20 price point of these guys. Next, we've got an Armored Superman, Batman from Detective Comics 1000, Harley Quinn from Birds of Prey the film, who's actually not in the first assortment. She's going to be in the second assortment of figures. And then Harley Quinn, as she is from the comics. So with no further ado, let's open this guy up. And I got this figure with a huge haul of figures from Walmart and Target today. Not all the McFarlane figures are in hand, but hopefully they will be soon. And then here's this Batman McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figure next to a Batman figure from Mattel Multiverse. As you can see, not only is the actual figure larger, but the packaging is larger as well. Even though they are different, there are some similarities. Notice the DC Multiverse logo is in the same spot and kind of similarly done, implying this is some sort of continuation of the Mattel line. And I did get two of these figures, one to keep unopened and one to open. I got one to keep unopened because I have a complete 6 and 7-inch Batman and related unopened collection, and I want to keep that up to date. And then here is my unopened version of this figure, taking its rightful place in front of my Batman and related comics with all of my other recent Batman and related acquisitions. Can't wait to get the rest of the McFarlane DC figures. Here they are next to some of the Mattel Multiverse figures in the new packaging. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all of his accessories laid out. He does come with a total of 4 different hands, a grapple gun, a batarang, and a display stand. And I will say this figure looks very stylized and exaggerated, very bulky at the top. And Bruce Timm's Batman the Animated Series is quite stylized in itself. Huge, broad chest and shoulders, thin legs, head with a very strong square jaw, and it gets thinner as it gets taller. Now, one thing kind of odd about this figure, at least to me, he sure makes me think of the new Batman Adventures. The way he's sculpted and the way he's painted is more like Batman the Animated Series. Later, we'll check him out compared to the DC Collectibles versions of both those figures, and you'll see what I mean. So, let's go ahead and check out this figure. His head here, like I said, very square jaw, very strong, stern looking. His head gets really thin as it gets to the top, just screams the new Batman Adventures to me. Batman logo, oval around it, like Batman the Animated Series would be. Very broad chest. Notice his shoulders are covered by his cape. A little bit annoying, it's going to hinder some of the articulation, but they are soft so you can move out of the way. Looks like he's got some butterfly joints in his shoulders. Single jointed elbows. I don't know if that's because his arms are so thick and fat looking, it might make it look odd to have double joints in there. His cape is made out of a soft plastic. It can bend, blue on the inside, black on the outside. Like I said, Batman the M8 series colors. His utility belt looks pretty cool. And then his legs get really, really thin as they go lower, and they are double jointed knees. And then here he is, broken down as far as he can go with all of his removable parts detached. Next, let's check out his accessories. Starting off with his display stand. This here is a perfect circle. It's got the DC logo at the bottom. It's got one peg on it for the peg holes in their feet, and it's very thin. I'm not much of a stand guy, so this is going to go into a huge bin of stands and never be seen again. Next, let's check out his hands. He's got two fisted hands and two semi-open gripping hands. Here he is wearing his two fisted hands, getting ready to punch someone or something. Here he is with his semi-open gripping hands. Both these hands have a trigger finger and are going to be able to help utilize his accessories. Next, let's check out his Batarang. My only gripe about this thing is it's a little bit thicker than I'm accustomed to my Batarangs being in my action figure world. This thing here is a different design from the Detective Comics number 1000 Batman McFarlane released, which is pretty cool. This is the design they use in the Batman M8 series. Here he is holding and getting ready to throw his Batarang. And this is at furthest back. You're going to give him to be able to hold his Batarang because of the way his cape is designed. I'd actually love to see somebody replace this plastic cape with a cloth one here. And here's his bat grapple. This here is the design from the new Batman Adventures, not the design they used in Batman the Animated Series. It is kind of odd how they sort of made a hybrid of both for this figure. I really do like the red buttons at the base so you can launch out the hook. It is permanently attached. I think they could have made it so it was at least removable. Here he is holding his grapple, holding it up, getting ready to launch out. His head is also looking up. This is about as high as you can get his head to go. Also wanted to point out that the grapple fits great right between his trigger finger. Fits perfect, just like that. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at his accessories, next let's check out the height of this figure. So this guy here, from bottom to top, the top of his head is at 7.0 inches. And if you go to the top of the ears, it's about 7.25 inches. And that translates to about 17.5 centimeters to the top of his head. Next, let's check out this guy's articulation. So starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. It can look down, really not too much. It can look up a fairly decent amount. His shoulders here on a ball joint, they can go out 90 degrees here, and it looks like they would be able to go out more than 90 degrees if it weren't for his cape. Go up, down, around, all that fun stuff. Now there is more plastic between his shoulder and chest area. I believe this is called a butterfly joint. It allows his shoulders to go in and out a little bit as well. Below that, he's got a bicep cut. He's got single jointed elbows. They can go in a little bit more than 90 degrees. His wrist can rotate around. There is this ball between his hand and his forearm here. It can rotate at the top or the base of the ball. It is also hinged. And if you wanted to change where the hinge was, you can simply hold that ball in place, move the hand, and then you'll be able to hinge it a little bit differently. He's got a ball joint here under his chest area. It can rotate from side to side, and it can also allow him to go forward and back like so. He's got another ball joint down here, can rotate from side to side, can also move in and out a bit as well, allowing his torso to give a pretty good range of motion here. Legs, completely do the splits, 90 degrees. Pretty small, little joint inside of there. His leg can move just a hair independently of it. Actually, probably better than a lot of the other McFarlane figures. Then go forward about that much, almost 90 degrees, not quite. Then go back that far. Double joint knees here. And that one seems to be a little stuck. I'll have to work on that one. Go back about that far. He's got the same sort of ball, and his actually looks better than a lot of the other McFarlane figures. Blends in with the leg a lot more than the comic one. So feet can go up that far, back that far, toe articulation in there. You can rotate the foot around, and if you wanted to rock it, not so easy, but you can take this ball here. It can rotate the top and the bottom, rotate it, hold it in place, rotate his foot back, and then you can tilt and rock his feet. Next, let's check this guy out compared with some other action figures, starting off by looking at him with the other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, then checking him out with some other DC Direct, DC Collectibles, Batman the Animated Series, and the new Batman Adventures figures, and then checking him out compared with some other action figure lines to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise in case you want to mix him. Here he is next to the other two animated McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. We've got Superman from Superman the Animated Series, Batman, sort of a hybrid between Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures, and then we've got John Stewart, Green Lantern from Justice League Unlimited. And here are all the different McFarlane DC Multiverse figures that I've gotten so far. These are 6 of the Series 1 12 figure assortment. Figures I still need to acquire. The Arrow, Armored Batman, Armored Superman, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Batman the Man Who Laughs. And here are these McFarlane Multiverse figures next to a McFarlane Bloodshot figure. This is a Bloodshot from the upcoming film starring Vin Diesel. It's based off of a comic Bloodshot. This guy here scales up great with these guys and uses the same kind of articulation. Here he is next to an original DC Direct Batman the Animated Series Batman. They have since released an upgraded version of this figure. This guy here started the whole line. In my opinion, I didn't like that the line was sort of the same size as DC Icons, 6.0 inches. Didn't really fit in with even the Mattel figures, much less the DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. On the other hand, this McFarlane figure is perhaps a little bit bigger than I would have liked, but I'm happy he's at least going to fit in with my stuff more than the DC Direct Animated Series figures. And here he is next to a DC Direct Batman the Animated Series and the new Adventures of Batman action figures. So you can sort of see why I said this guy here is sort of a hybrid between both versions. He's definitely colored like the figure on the left, but he's sculpted like the figure on the right. Look at his gauntlets. Look at his chest. Look at the way his cape drapes over his shoulders. Look at his head. Here he is next to the different Batman the Animated Series Batmans as they evolve through the different shows. From left to right, we've got Batman the Animated Series, then the new Batman Adventures. Of course, in the middle, we've got this McFarlane figure. And then next, we've got the Justice League Unlimited Batman, and then Batman Beyond. And here he is next to the upgraded version, DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Batman. From the very left, we've got the original release, the McFarlane figure, and then we've got an updated release. It's a little bit taller and more articulated. They came with the Bat Cycle. And then we've got the Hard Act Batman, which is also based off the upgraded body. Here he is next to the DC Collectibles version of the Bat Family from Batman the Animated Series. And here he is next to the DC Collectibles version of the Bat Family from the new Batman Adventures. Here he is next to all the different rogues the DC Collectibles are released specifically for Batman the Animated Series. And just a different angle to see all the different Bat rogues. I really hope they make a Clayface soon, McFarlane that is. Here he is riding on the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Bat Cycle. He can hold the handlebars, he can sit in the seat pretty good. He is a little bit too large for it. As you can see, his feet come nowhere near the pedals. But he looks decent and is fudgeable if you're not too picky about such things. And even though you're not going to be able to fit him into the Batwing cockpit because of his plastic cape, if someone were to remove the cape and put a cloth one on him, he probably still wouldn't fit in it because of how big he is, but he does scale up pretty good next to the Batwing. And he is going to scale up pretty nicely with the Batmobile as well. I would guess that If he had a cloth cape, he might actually fit in the cockpit of the Batmobile. Here he is next to a Mattel Beware the Batman 6-inch animated figure. Next, let's check him out compared with some other various Batman figures from different companies. Here he is next to the McFarlane DC Comics Detective Comics number 1000 Batman figure. Here he is with some NECA Batman figures. In my opinion, these are some of the nicest 6-7-inch Batman figures out there. And here he is next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Batman figures. He does scale up okay with them, at least height-wise, although his body proportions are quite off. Here he is next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods Batman figures. And here he is next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Batman figures. Here he is next to some Mafex Batman figures. Here he is next to some SH Figure Arts Batman figures. Next, let's check him out compared with some other action figure lines from different various companies. Here he is with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you, you got 5 different action figure lines from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch, all scaling up pretty close to each other. Here he is next to some DST or Diamond Select Toys. And here he is next to some NECA action figures. Here he is next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And here he is next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods figures. Then here he is next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here he is next to some Mafex action figures. Then here he is next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And then here he is next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And here he is next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, he's a cool figure, but they definitely made some mistakes by sculpting him, the new Batman Adventures, and painting him Batman the Animated Series. He's bigger than the DC Collectibles figures, which appeals to me personally. I know it won't appeal to everybody. His articulation is pretty decent. The way he looks is cool. The fact that I have the DC Collectibles, Batman the Animated Series, and new Batman Adventures figures makes it kind of unique to have one that's sort of a cross between both. If I were to rate this figure, I'd probably give him a 6.5 out of 10. Once again, teetering on the edge of 6 out of 10. I do hope we get some additional Batman the Animated Series animated figures in this style. This is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it in the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Keep your eye out for the rest of my DC McFarlane Multiverse action figure reviews. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.